All right, welcome to the PeakDay podcast where we talk about family, fertility, and natural family planning with our friends. Today we welcome Daniel West, Executive Director of Family Honor, husband, father of 8, and longtime advocate for marriage, family life, and chastity education. Daniel's journey includes a decision to leave behind a promising academic path to pursue theology, years of balancing graduate studies with raising a large family, and more than a decade of serving marriage and family ministry in the Archdiocese of Atlanta. Along the way, he and his wife Michelle embraced natural family planning, remained open to life, and discovered how God often works through sacrifice and trust. Now, through Family Honor, Daniel continues to help parents form their children in virtue and guide families toward authentic love rooted in the church's teachings. Thank you, Daniel, for being on the Peak Day podcast today.
Thank you for having me, Martha. Honor, pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Yeah, we're excited to have you here and talk about your journey and your ministry. So let's just kind of start at the beginning and maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, your childhood, and you grew up in a military family, moved around a lot. So what was that like?
Yeah, no, it was interesting now looking back at it as an adult. As a kid, it was very painful, right? Moving every 2 to 3 years on average until
Mm-hmm.
about my high school, till high school age, and yeah, so it was neat. We got to see some things like Italy, Germany, different parts of the U.S. That I appreciate now, but I hated it as a kid.
It was right. It
That's
sounds like it
probably
gave you really kind of gave you a unique perspective and a little bit a different outlook than maybe you might have had otherwise.
right.
So your family, you eventually settled in Atlanta area.
Mhm.
So what, as a young adult, what were your maybe your ambitions and your hopes?
Yeah, so yeah, my dad's last station was Fort McPherson in Atlanta, South Atlanta. And then, so yeah, I went to high school, didn't move, then went to Georgia Tech. And my ambitions when I was young were pretty worldly. It wasn't theology. Um, my parents are immigrants from Italy, and we would go when they were paying for the plane ticket. We would go almost every summer because they were paying, and it was amazing, right?
Mm.
But it was too amazing um, in the sense that it's not normal to go to Italy almost every summer, not pay for anything, have free lodging, have amazing meals from family that never sees you. So they're all inviting you, cooking their
Yeah.
best, showing you their best, going to the beach almost every day because
Yeah.
they're in Livorno in a beach town. So I was like, this is heaven on earth, right? Not knowing the cost of
Mm.
that, right?
Sure.
Um, so when I studied international affairs because I just get me back to Italy somehow. That wasn't God's plan for me to go
Oh, sure,
to
sure.
indulge myself in Italy for the rest of my life. Um, so I studied international affairs, not really knowing what it was, and it's a neat
Mhm.
degree that you need to study something after it, but it
Mm.
really helps you understand how the world works, right? Kind of opened my
Mm.
eyes to the injustices of the world, and
Yeah.
that's where I got started getting interested in like poverty issues, social justice issues, um,
Right.
from a more secular point of view. It was a fork in the road because so social justice, poverty issues presented from a more leftist point of view. Well, that includes things like abortion on demand, uh, equality at all, equality, right? Marriage rights, marriage equality, which means pro-gay marriage, and it also means fighting the Catholic Church when the church, usually standing alone, fights these things. Like saying, no, that's not social justice.
Right.
Abortion is not social justice. Marriage is between one man and one woman. Um, so from a secular social justice point of view, this was like, of course, if you're for social justice, you're for these things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't super devout, but I I kind of balked at like just jumping in and being yes, and it made me study my faith, right? Well, okay, well,
Right.
they think this is so great for the world, for the poor. Why is the church against these things?
Mm.
Abortion's kind of obvious, killing a baby, but you know all the other things, and so it helped me study my faith, and I started. It wasn't like an immediate moment, but I started drifting more towards the church and not towards this
Okay.
leftist utopia idea of solving the world's problems.
Oh,
But yeah, I just started growing in my faith at that point. One thing led to another, and I dropped the program in economics and decided to go for a master's in theology.
great. So, what did your family and friends say when you made that decision? And
Yeah,
yeah.
I was engaged at the time, so
Mm.
especially my mom was like, "What are you doing? You're not going to become a
Yeah.
priest, all right? You're going to get married, right? Yeah, and you're going to study theology, yeah, and you think you're going to support a family? Well, you know, God says, seek first the kingdom of heaven, and then everything
Oh.
shall be added, right?"
So you said you're engaged already at this point to your
Mhm.
wife, Michelle, right?
Yes.
So what was it about Michelle that made you say, "Yeah, I want to get married.
Yeah.
Let's do this"? Yeah.
um, you know, as everyone married knows, you have that growth in relationship that helps you say, well, she's the one, right? I want to spend the rest of my life with her.
So for couples who may feel intimidated by natural family planning or just openness to life, what has your experience taught you about trust and sacrifice in God's providence?
Yes, that God, He's shown me time and time again, He will not be outdone in generosity.
Mm.
He will not be outdone in generosity. You think like, okay, I'm going to be good and follow NFP and be open to life, and
Right.
um, it's all a blessing, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Even the crosses, like even when you do decide that okay, we have to be very strict about NFP, we can't be loosey goosey and possibly
Hmm.
um, have a child. Yeah, that's a legitimate conclusion. We've been there many times in 22
Hmm.
years,
Hmm.
and to see those as a blessing, right? The times of abstinence,
Hmm.
especially I think for men, it might be harder.
Yeah.
But for women too, because that means abstinence on the times they want that connection with their husbands just as
Hmm.
much as the
Hmm.
husbands want with their
Yeah.
wives.
Right.
But I can't tell you, I learned intimacy through abstinence. That's when I truly
Mm.
learned what it means to be
Beautiful.
intimate.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
it's an immense gift
Mm.
to work with both God and your spouse uh, to overcome a difficulty.
We hear a lot that that NFP is just like a method. So after your more than 2 decades of marriage, how would you describe what learning NFP and actually using NFP in your marriage has become in your relationship?
Great question. So yeah, when I first got married, even though I was excited about my faith, I was still learning. We're all learning for our whole lives
Mm.
the mystery of God, going deeper into that mystery. But a snapshot of where I was when I first said I do, I said, okay, well, we can't use contraception. That doesn't make sense. It's immoral. It's an intrinsically evil act, like Paul VI said and the Catechism said. So I want to avoid that. So there's this thing called NFP, and we'll use that, right? Kind of with the same mentality. Like,
Yeah.
I want these things in life. I want these things with my wife. I want these things in the world. And, NFP is the Catholic approved way of achieving those things that I have in my mind. Well,
Right. Right.
didn't quite work that way. It's a whole shift of worldview, right?
Mm. Mm.
So if you go into NFP with a more mentality that of the air we breathe, which is contraception, right?
Yeah.
Just and also our hyper individualistic way culture that says,
Yeah. Right.
there's what I want, when I want it, how I want it now.
Right. Right.
But relationships are not that way, right? Your relationship with God is not that way. Your relationship with your
Mm.
spouse is not that way. Your
Mm-hmm.
relationship with your children is not that way, right? So that mentality has to go in marriage and family. And NFP really helps you get rid of that,
Yeah.
right? So I had to
Right.
learn that NFP is not Catholic contraception
Mm.
with that mentality.
Right.
NFP is God said, it's a pointing back to what God said. The first command to humanity was be fruitful and multiply, right? God is love, and love creates life. That that's just the way it is. And so the first command, be fruitful and multiply, he didn't say be careful and use methods that will help you achieve what you want out of life, right? No, he said
Right.
be fruitful and multiply. So NFP is a way of managing that command,
Mm.
right? So that you can't take full control of it and right and say it's what I want 100% of the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, we've gotten married. If you, that's your first decision, and once you're married, be fruitful and multiply is the first command. Not that you have just you don't you you engage sexuality thoughtlessly, but with your reason, right? That's NFP coming into play of managing that command. So, like I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, God designed it so that the desires match most with man and woman when fertility is there, most
Mm-hmm.
there, right? The desire and fertility go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was a huge mind blown for me reality that even though I intellectually agreed with NFP and the church's teaching on contraception,
Mm-hmm.
my heart, there was a huge journey from my head to my heart
Oh.
that
Right. Right.
I'm still on that journey. Right? It's because it involves the cross and
Mm. Yeah.
resurrection.
Yeah. Yeah. And so many couples that I've interviewed have said pretty much what you've said, that having to communicate with each other very regularly about your intentions, and having those times of sacrifice and having those times of being together really makes the practice of natural family planning just kind of an intrinsic thread that runs throughout the marriage, and it's not just something that you do or a
No,
method that you use. Yeah.
it it has to be baked in your marriage. Just I think,
Mm-hmm.
which saddens me, thinking about the state of most dioceses. Like I would require it.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
don't see how you can propose a Catholic worldview of marriage without giving a couple a tool. Like here,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, some people might say, "Well, you can't require things." Well, I mean, they're coming to the Catholic Church for
Mm-hmm.
Catholic marriage, so you have to
Mm-hmm.
give them some way, especially in this culture, this very libertine, do what you feel culture,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sexually liberated culture. You have to give them the Catholic tools to how to live that out.
Yes. Yes.
And
Right.
a method, pick one, but a method
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
NFP is necessary
Yeah. Yeah.
to live that out and follow
Right.
follow Jesus in marriage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
So
when you look back over your years of marriage and raising children so far, how has that shaped your understanding of marriage and fatherhood and God's blessings?
yeah, it's changed my life for the better. Um, when Michelle and I first got married, we thought, yeah, we're open to a large family, maybe 4 kids, and 8 kids later, here we are, right? You know, we both
Yeah.
came from families of 3, you know,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah, her parents were, I guess, nominal Christians. Mine are Catholic. So we thought, yeah, a good Catholic family would have 4, right? But then, yes, like I mentioned, like God stretched stretched our heart, right? Helping us understand the beauty of life, of sacrifice, right?
Mm.
And if there's
Hmm.
one thing
Hmm.
especially when I did marriage preparation, if there's one thing I could stress to young couples that learning really helped me is learn to love sacrifice,
Hmm.
right? Our natural broken reaction to any kind of discomfort, misunderstanding, any kind of pain, even naturally, it's preservation of the body is to say, no, get it away from me.
Yeah.
I need to be
Right.
comfortable.
Right.
I need to find pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
But our faith helps us get beyond that, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you learn to love sacrifice, love the cross, because it'll get you closer to the resurrection. Learn to love that cross. So whether it's the
Mm-hmm.
abstinence in NFP, or it's a baby when you feel like you're already stressed out,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
not just in the area of sexuality, as important as that is, it's holding your tongue when you think you're right in a
Mm-hmm.
conversation, controlling your temper,
Right.
waking up and feeding the baby when you know your wife is tired.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. Plenty of opportunities.
oh, endless, endless,
Yeah.
endless,
Yeah.
and they and this is a constant struggle, right? But if you day in day out work on, okay, sacrifice is good, yeah, there's a greater cross sacrifice of these lower
Mm-hmm.
goods, right? Not that they're
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
bad, right? But you're sacrificing a lower good to achieve a higher good.
Mm.
That's what
Beautiful.
marriage
Yeah.
has taught me.
Right. Yeah. So, what did encourage you the most during your years of promoting marriage ministry and NFP?
Yeah. Couple things. One, knowing how it all ends in the end, right?
Uh,
Christ will be victorious no matter how bad it seems. And he's planted things along the way, and it's all over scripture, you know, even Marian apparitions. Like, I really like Fatima. She appeared to the children and she said, and seriously said, a lot of people are, many souls go to hell because of sins of the flesh. I'm like, wow,
mm,
what more
mm-hmm.
important area in
Right.
ministry is there than trying to help people understand the sins of the flesh, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sexual immorality is a huge, huge gateway, right? It's not the worst
Mm,
sin, right? Pride is the fundamental sin, um, but it's a gateway. Like it's the easiest sin to say, shrug your shoulders and say, what's the big deal, right? I'm not hurting
yeah.
anybody. I'm not killing
Yeah.
anybody.
Right.
And
Right.
it's a boiling frog. Before you know it, you're hooked on pornography. Before you know it, your marriage is in trouble. Before you know it, you're contracepting. You're not having the kids God would love to bless you with. Your
Mm,
marriage is falling
mm-hmm.
apart, and there's just a and you get further and further away from God, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
so Our Lady's words totally make sense, right? So
Mm,
that motivates me. That as ignored as the church's teaching on sexuality is, both outside and inside the church many times,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it doesn't change the fact, the natural law reality that
Right.
sexuality is deeply, deeply important to our
Mm-hmm.
faith, and living it out well. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
motivates me, number one. And number two is finding good people, right? Everywhere, no
Yeah.
matter what parish you're at, diocese you're at, there's strengths and weaknesses, pros and cons, heroes and villains everywhere.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, Finding those people who love the Lord, love the
Yeah.
church, love the
Yeah.
hard teachings. They love everything about God and do their
Mm-hmm.
best with
Right.
their shortcomings
Yeah.
to follow the Lord.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's a huge motivation.
You had told me earlier that you would often pray that God would use you in a way that pleases Him most.
Yeah.
How has that prayer influenced your discernment and decision making?
Yeah. Um, One of the greatest mysteries to me is God accomplishing His will, but giving us free will. Right? And I know
Yeah.
only God, who
Yeah.
created something out of nothing, could accomplish that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the one pause it gives me is like, you know, you'll often hear people say, "Oh, God did this in my life. I know this God wanted me to do this, and God wanted me to do that." And in my faith journey, I've never heard a voice. Maybe the closest thing I get is a recurring thought in prayer, right? Like maybe I
Mm.
should be doing
Hmm.
this, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
being very not trusting of myself because I've made decisions, some big decisions that didn't seem to be the right ones, right? And I thought I was doing the right thing.
Right.
A big prayer has become of mine, like, Lord, like, help me please you. Help me have
Mm.
it be clear that what I'm doing is pleasing you because I have several options in front of me,
Okay. Yeah.
but it's not 100% clear.
So tell us about family honor for those who might not know what it's about, and maybe what's your vision for the ministry.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to say something about family honor. We
Yeah.
um, we've been around since 1988 was the first inception when it became a 501c3 nonprofit. And as you can imagine, in 1988 there wasn't much talk of organizations with chastity, and I think CCL
Hmm.
was around. Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, they were around. There were
We were here.
a few voices in the wilderness trying to follow John Paul's strange
Right.
Wednesday audiences. He called theology of the body, and
Yes.
they
Yes.
were very new at the time. And
Right.
so the organization started with parents being concerned about the way the culture was going and
Mm-hmm.
methods of sex education. So
Okay.
they started this group in South Carolina that said, parents getting together, let's teach our kids chastity and sex education according to the teachings of the church.
Okay.
And we still do that, right? We have four basic programs that help parents connect with their children on these most important issues where the
Mm.
world is saying the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Often the church is silent, but parents, we need to help each other out. And
Yeah.
that's why I focus the motto on these basic two things, that we help parents, right? Because there's precious
Hmm.
few organizations that help parents. And the times have only gotten tougher since the late 80s,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially with the iPhones. The
Right.
world can be in your pocket and you lose
Yeah.
your children very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I, so many parents have so many difficult stories of,
Mm.
just losing their kids to the culture.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so we support parents in promoting, and the second thing, promoting virtue, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Our organization wants to create a space for parents to be able to talk to their kids about not just sexuality, as it's very important. So there's a space for that, but also virtue,
Mm.
right? You can't just drop the church's teaching and say, okay, did that, moving on. No, my vision is, and the church and Family Honor already does this and has been doing this, but like I mentioned earlier, we can't give what we don't have.
Mm.
So we parents, we want our kids to be virtuous, to be chaste. Well,
Mhm.
we need tools as parents for that as well, right?
Mm.
To model
Right.
being virtuous, being chaste. So like I mentioned, we need NFP, right? It is
Yeah.
all domino effect of,
Exactly.
I want
Yes.
my kid to be good, chaste. Well, then I have to be good and chaste. Well, then I need NFP. Well, then it can't be just biology. I need some theological understanding
Yes.
of
Yeah.
all of this
Right.
stuff. And of course, you can only do so much in a program. Usually, they're a Friday, Saturday program or an all-day Saturday
Okay.
program.
All right.
And we're invited. We need to be invited by a DRE or a pastor.
Okay.
Um, so we go to different parishes and put on these programs to help
Oh,
parents connect with their children on these most important
okay.
issues.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And so we do have a website that describes these programs, that they have a different focus on different ages. Um, and yeah, the
And what?
details if you wanted us to come out to a parish, what that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
involves. And
So
all
is
the,
it just local then, or do you have, a program for national meetings
yes,
and things? Yeah.
it's southeastern right now.
Mm-hmm.
And in the height of the organization, maybe in the early 2000s, the Family Honor was putting on Theology of the Body conferences. They had
Oh.
affiliates all the way from the Northeast to Florida, out to as far west, I think, as Missouri, Ohio.
Mm, wow.
There's less of those affiliates now. It's mainly South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Mm-hmm.
have teams that are in these states and can travel. So, for
Mm.
example, we do have one request right now from Wisconsin. We're going to send a traveling team out there to do a
Okay.
program.
All
So it
righty.
is possible. It's more expensive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's cheaper to in Atlanta or South Carolina, North Carolina to do it
Mm-hmm.
for if a parish
And
wants
what's
us.
your website, Daniel?
www.familyhonor.org.
Okay.
Familyhonor.org.
Got to put in a plug for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All
Like I
right.
mentioned, it's my dream to work hand in hand with more NFP
Yeah.
organizations, couple to couple
Yeah.
league, an
It
excellent one.
is. It's a logical collaboration for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We're all after the same thing. We all want to get to heaven.
Amen.
All right. One last question for you, Daniel. If you could sit down with a young husband and a father who is trying to follow Christ but feels overwhelmed by the demands of family and the culture and his faith, maybe, what would you want him to know?
First thing is that I am there myself. You are not alone. If you want to follow Christ in your marriage and not settle for just a mediocre marriage, that is a very natural thing to be overwhelmed with
Mm-hmm.
the needs of your spouse, the needs of your children, the needs of your job. Um, I think for us men, it's very hard because our brains, they say, are like waffles, right? We need to focus on one thing at a time, right? And we go from thing to thing to thing.
Yeah.
And without a prayer life, I couldn't do it. So
Mm-hmm.
number one thing is, like, of course, you're not alone, assuring that this is normal, but also stay close to God. God is using this as a tool to have you on your knees to rely on Him.
Mm.
Everything you're going
Mhm.
through is good ultimately. Whatever God allows is good, as hard as it is sometimes. Right? I know. Many times we want to throw down the cross because it's too hard, it's too heavy, it's too painful.
Sure. Yeah, we all do. Hmm.
Yeah, but pause in those moments. Pause and think, okay, God's allowing this. Let me just pray through it, even if it's just one short prayer. Lord help,
Mm-hmm.
Lord help
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Not as a throwaway line, but as a true prayer.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and He will. He does. I can't tell you how many times He's helped me through it, just by
Hmm.
turning my gaze towards heaven. Right, instead of
Mm.
myself and my problems and
Right. Right.
my frustrations. This isn't happening. That's not happening.
Yeah.
This could be a downward spiral. Just that momentary stop and look upwards.
Mm.
God will help you. God will
Hmm.
help you. So He's allowing those frustrations for you to look
Yeah.
up.
Right. Thank you so much, Daniel. It was a pleasure speaking with you and getting to know you. I appreciate
Likewise,
it so
Martha.
much for you taking your time to be on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you.